let's go ahead and start our work session. Uh, so the first agenda item we have on our work session is district goals. Were you guys able to read through what I had sent in the examples? Okay. Will you, Gallagher,
Yes, ma'am.
will you give just you do a really good job of just explaining district goals versus
Sure.
Board goals versus admin goals. So can you just highlight
Sure.
that for us one more time before we start this conversation?
Absolutely. So you'll see in your packet there is board goals 2019 to 20, and that's from the Alsea School Board. It looked like they addressed three areas: student achievement, technology infrastructure, and community relations transparency. Um, Also, you'll see,
I guess.
well, that's twice. You'll also see example of district goals that were put together just from other school districts. Um, but we have to keep in mind there's a difference between district goals and board goals. District goals are what are we trying to achieve as a district, and oftentimes they're kind of overlaying like in a big umbrella, and they're very kind of global in nature. But then board goals are goals for the board itself.
Yeah.
Like maybe you want to set a board goal of so many people are visiting the schools so many times a month, or maybe you want to set a board goal of participating in trainings, or I don't know. I mean, there's a number of things, and that still falls under that umbrella. Then you have like administrative goals, which we need to make sure that our goals are aligning to that umbrella also of the district goals. So I think some of these examples that you're seeing on district goals, like student achievement, that's always a great one for a district goal. We're all concerned about student achievement. Um, Another one I'm seeing an example here is equitable systems. So they're looking at not only just what is equal, but what's equitable, what is equity, and how does that work in the school system. Another one here is an example of real world learning. So what does that mean? And within that goal, if you look, they state the goal, but they also state the strategies. How are we going to achieve that goal as a district? Are we going to be putting resources towards that? Are we going to be doing some staff trainings? What are the outcomes that we want to see? And so I always think about goal setting. Either it's board goals, district goals, admin goals, which also trickles down into teacher goals. Think of the SMART concept. SMART stands for strategic, measurable, attainable. You want to make sure you can attain the goal. You can't say I'm going to solve world peace. Now that's probably not attainable. Um, Realistic is the R, and then time oriented. So there's a timeline associated with the goal. Oftentimes it's by April or by the end of the school year, or sometimes boards want to set district goals that are kind of rolling goals. They're goals that they're wanting to look at over time. Like maybe it's a 5-year goal, and this year we're going to accomplish this part. Next year we're going to accomplish that part. So there's a number of ways you could do that. Now the administrative team has met, and we've chosen 3 categories, and those certainly could be duplicated at the district level for district goals if the board chooses. The 3 areas that we're trying to address is personnel, also budget, and was it student achievement? Is that what I told you? I think student achievement. I'll have to look back. But anyway, so those 3 areas are the areas that we're kind of saying, these need the most attention. And then we're trickling that down. So like Mr. Roberts is here, or Ms. Jackson is here as teachers, so we'd be meeting with them in the evaluation process, and we have to set what is called student learning goals, SLG goals. And so I'll say, Ms. Jackson, let's write 3 goals that fit in these categories, that really focus on student learning. And so maybe she says, well, I've got these students that are testing here right now, and by April, my goal is to get them up to here. That would be a very realistic SLG goal, not something that's pie in the sky where we know she's never going to achieve, but something that's realistic. And then throughout the course of the year, we always go back and reevaluate. How are you doing, Miss Jackson, in terms of meeting your goal? What kind of resources do you need? And she might say, oh man, I tried this and this isn't working. How can we do this? We just start brainstorming. Same thing with district goals. I would recommend that whatever the board sets for district goals, we come back and we revisit it. Almost like even every board meeting. How are we doing on this goal, Mr. Gallagher? How are we doing on that goal? You know, and I can give you reports on how we're doing and where we're going with this. And if we need to maybe change something midstream or adjust, or gee, we didn't anticipate we needed more technology to achieve this goal, we may have to go out and get some training. So that's kind of the difference between board goals, district goals, administrative goals, and then teacher goals. But it all works together. We don't want goals that we're all heading 20 different directions. We want to be unified. And that's why choosing 3 goals that are kind of comprehensive, they're global, they really capture the essence of why we're here as a school, like example of student achievement. You know, I would encourage you to be thinking in that realm.
Thank you. Okay, so if we look at the 2019 to 2020, I'm gonna retitle this as district goals because they weren't really board goals. So if we look at those district goals that were set in 2019 and 2020, they had student achievement, technology and infrastructure, and community relations and transparency as the 3 district goals. Does anybody feel like those are still relevant today and we should continue to mold those? Should we scratch anything? Is there anything anybody would like to keep?
I think the community relations and transparency.
To keep?
For the board.
Okay. Well, it's all
It's all
outdated, probably.
outdated.
We might have to, I mean, I'm just thinking of, I'm looking at like the topic. Do we want to keep that and
Topic.
then
Well,
maybe
right.
change our strategy or even the goal around what was highlighted in that?
I understand what you're trying to say, but what I was saying is that those skills, the things that we talked about are done.
Oh, yes, they might very well be, yes.
So you can't.
Robert, anything?
No,
I'd like to see student achievement be retained as a district goal. I have a different thought on what I'd like to have that goal really be than what's titled here. But I'd like to see student achievement still be something the district keeps as a goal to continue going through.
2019.
1920.
I'm looking at the 1920 goals.
The board goal.
Yeah.
And we don't have to have 3 either. I mean, three
No.
is a nice number. I would say that we probably don't want more than 3, but if we only highlight right now, like there's 2 district goals that we have, the community and our students, then,
Right.
then those are the 2 that we have.
Thinking budget on it. So
Budget,
Budget's a big one.
so I'm just gonna title it as budget and we'll set the goal.
And if the board chooses just
Yours.
the topics, like budget,
I don't know,
student
make it bigger,
achievement,
'cause I
That's
got-
okay.
whatever
Okay.
else, we could certainly bring some recommendations for the board to look at that we think would be realistic.
What was that again? Sorry.
In other words, if all you guys did tonight was just choose the 3 subjects,
Right.
like student
Oh, yeah.
achievement, budget,
okay.
and something else, we could bring you from the administrative side recommendations on what those potential goals would look like.
Well, then,
And then
yeah,
we can
'cause then
kinda
it's more
flesh it out.
aligned on what the district wants.
Yeah.
So do
I think those would be 3 really good goals.
student achievement,
Yes.
community relations,
Yes.
And
budget.
and the budget, yes.
So do we feel that technology and infrastructure right now can be scratched from our 2022, 23 district goals?
You said student achievement, budget, and what was the third one?
Community relations.
Community relations.
Okay, so I'm gonna take this, and then I don't
What do you scratch which one?
scratching technology and infrastructure for this time being.
Sure, because if we're scratching, it's not really scratch. We'll talk about it every week.
Yeah, we're just not making it
Right,
an
it's not a
outline
goal.
district goal. And then my thought also was we can talk through some of this, and then obviously if there's some takeaways for Sean to work with the team on, but also I want to bring it back for Deb to see the next time when she's here. So we wouldn't
Right.
actually probably pull on something until she can get her eyes
Right.
on it. Probably back if that's cool with everybody.
That's fine with me.
So this is just an idea, but for student achievement, and listening to other boards and what they're doing, I like that there's some strategy here on how to the previous goal here was to increase our middle school and high school student retention through investing with programs and things like that. I think given the way the world's going, kids leave high school without knowing what they want to do, but they also leave high school without knowing how to even take that next step. So for my thought on that student achievement is every student we graduate has a plan for the day after high school. You know, like we'd have to work with the staff. The strategy level would definitely be it would definitely below us. That's not ours, but it would be really pushing our staff to help every graduating member of ILC have a plan.
It's called a career plan, and it's actually in state law, and it needs to be developed starting in grade 6, which I know we need to do. So this would be a very, very good goal if that's what we want to focus on. Where you're right, where every student would graduate with a career plan in mind. I want to become a dentist. I want to become a rock star. I want to become a logger. I want to become an electrician, a doctor. You know,
They might
and so
change it the day after graduation, but
pardon me.
I said they might change it the day after.
They might.
Yeah.
They might. You know, the research shows that the average college student changes their major 7 times, and the average person changes their career 7 times over the course of their career. So yeah, we all can change our minds at any time, but having a plan in place and a direction to go and pursue is a good one. It also helps to drive students in terms of, oh, you want to become a math teacher? Well, you better take some math when you're in high school. You know, we need to get you enrolled in some dual credit classes. Very comically, I was talking to a young man years ago, different school district. He was a junior in high school. And I said, well, what do you want to do? I want to be a professional football player. And I said, well, I've noticed that you're not out for the football team. We had a long chat. So no, it's a very important thing to do. So I like where you're heading with that.
We could. Well, does everybody else like that idea? That's something that's
Yeah.
stressed.
I mean, I'd like to articulate that to Sean the other day is getting them at least thinking about what they're gonna do when they graduate. And it's like, I got one with a junior that I don't think she's thought about it too much.
And they need to be thinking about it, even in grade school.
Well, and like you said, that's a long-term goal. Too. Is that what we want to focus on right now? Is starting out, have this as a long-term goal for.
I think it could start in all grades, 6 through 12. And so, you know, one of our focus areas of how we achieve this is every student that graduates this year would have a grad plan. And we also put in place grad plans starting as early as grade 6. So, and it's supposed to be an annual thing where the students evaluated every year. And so they look at their grad, oh, I wrote last year, I want to be a firefighter. I decided I didn't want to be a firefighter. I want to be a policeman. Okay, so they change your grad plan. That's okay. That's what we want kids to be
At
thinking
one
about.
time, we had a class that in the school that was like, kind of, the kids had to go in one term out and job shadow people that were in the occupation they thought they wanted to do. So they had to start planning that because they had to find somebody that could show them how to do something. I think that really got them thinking. I don't know if that's possible here, this time or not.
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite understand the question.
The question is that we had a class years ago where they given goals about business and this and that, and then told that they had to go find someone with an occupation that they thought they would like to do to job shadow for a couple of days so they could write a report out of it. And it seemed to get them going in the direction that
Mhm.
they Nathan did it, and he
Mhm.
is both soon
Mhm.
getting it. There.
And that can certainly be a component of it. I know I've talked to many universities about even teacher education programs. And a lot of the universities have gone to where they get teachers out in the classrooms during their freshman year, rather than waiting till the senior year. Their senior year, they get in the classroom and go, oh, this isn't what I thought. I don't want to be a teacher. And they've already taken 4 years of college to be a teacher.
See, I
Same
don't-
exact thing.
See, I don't know if that's a board goal. I mean,
I wouldn't say it's a board goal, but it could be a part of the strategy. It could be a part of the list of potential endeavors. Can I run that past the admin team? And because that would take a lot of organization.
It was the senior project,
Oh, it was a senior project.
and they had to shadow somebody, do a report, and then it was,
So job shadow.
yes. And then they had to do their report in front of people in here.
The other one I can think about that COVID kind of put the squash on, but might be opening back up are student attended career fairs, which might be in the short term more achievable immediately, and then building on reestablishing a senior project. Because I think that taught them a lot of really great life lessons. They had to go out,
Yes.
they had to have conversations, they had to articulate in front of people. But
I think career fairs are great opportunities.
maybe we start them a little softer and we do some interviews in the gym with teachers versus throwing them at OSU campus. You know, I mean,
There's a lot of different things you can do. Yeah. A lot of different things you can do.
I don't know if OSU has started that again or not, but okay. So if I send this with our ideas, I know you have some notes jotted down, and then maybe your admin team can expand on some
Yeah.
strategies
Yep.
of that,
Yep.
and then we can bring that back.
Yeah. We can bring you some recommendations. Student achievement, budget, and community relations.
Yeah, well, maybe we can talk through, we have a little bit of time, so maybe we can talk through thoughts on community relations and transparency from the board on what you'd like to see. I don't know if it's gonna be exactly the same as this, so is there something that you guys have in mind already?
Well, it's already started with this. I mean, with Sarah, the website, Facebook, and all that. So some of that's just to hear that's good. Because it looks like they started it, but it never got up cap. So keeping that up to date.
We could write a
Progress on that.
communications plan,
Yeah.
and that would have goals and where we want to get to to
By the
address
end of
this
the year,
goal.
yeah.
Mhm.
So something along the lines of creating a communication plan in partnership with the village information officer.
Yep. That'd be a good one.
And then, any initial goals or thoughts on budget from us?
With Roberts.
The budget's one that we just gotta go for the. I'm so uncomfortable with everything right now. We get kind of the budget that I don't know where to go or how to go, but we gotta go.
So I was thinking about something Lorraine said last meeting, and she talked a lot about needing to stay at that 85% level. So what is that? That's expenditures at 85%, or keeping it, or cutting at least 15%, right? So that was kind of
Yes.
what that was her topic.
Yes.
And the problem is when we get to the point that we've spent 85%, we're in trouble. We're already at hot water, right? So what if the district goal is, continuous monitoring to keep us under 70% or keep us at 70%, so that when we get to an 85%, that's not a surprise. Then we knew we were getting closer. I don't know what that looks like. Maybe that's a strategy more than a goal. I don't know what that looks like, but
The goal would be more in terms of budget to,
End or something,
so what again?
like where we want to end.
Yeah, we
know,
could set a
for the-
goal for where we want to end, or you could just even say, we want to maintain a balanced budget. That simple. But there's a lot of steps that have to go in between. Like, we still have things in our budget that we're still curious about. We don't have enough
Yes.
data.
That, and the other thing about our budget is, are we gonna be that charter school that continues to grow? Or are we going to set limits and stay at one? That's
Limits
something we
and stay
gotta
what again?
stay at the one.
Oh.
I don't think that we want the numbers to go up. And I don't mean it for athletic reasons, I mean it for room reasons.
Other than all the facility.
No, so I think we have to set some limits on our enrollment, and we're gonna have to stick by it.
Mhm.
I think to that same point, setting limits on enrollment also helps our teachers to handle their classrooms when we know we can't necessarily just hire multiple aides. We want to have classroom levels at a spot that are sustainable for our teachers to run them and give that one-on-one attention that we promise.
Right.
And we want to be able to promise. And if we continue to grow that level, we can't do that.
No,
Well, haven't we set those limits in the past, like 22 kids in the classroom or something?
The
like that?
charter mentions 23, but it's not very clear how it's mentioned. Is that a hard and set rule or not? That's part of the charter revision that we need to go through this year, because we need to define those much more clearly.
But yet we could grow our online.
yes,
Oh, yeah.
Because
Because
the-
it doesn't take facility.
We don't
it
have brick and
takes
mortar
it's
there.
K-8,
Personnel.
it's K-8 or whatever it is there. So it doesn't affect the high school enrollment. Had we kept the high school enrollment, we would be 2A this year with the kids that we have in-house. So, and it's gonna look much better on a graduation rates without the other part.
So we're talking about two separate goals here though, but, or even topics. So one's a budget and
Mhm.
one's an enrollment.
Number.
Well,
And so, and they do intertwine,
Very-
but
very much.
are we more interested as a board in discussing enrollment caps? Or are we more interested in discussing budget? Or do we want,
They kind of go hand in hand though, because we're continuing to grow, but at some point we gotta quit growing, we gotta work within that. Budget.
so do we make budget the topic and we
Yes.
ask our admin team to come up with strategy around and considering enrollment?
Sure. At some point, I would like to say, hey, we got a list. And we use our list, we go through our list, and that's how we get kids in. I know, for example, has a list where those kids didn't get in.
Yeah.
But they do have it and they do use it.
I also think that list is helpful in like, well, I'm sorry, this class is full,
Yes.
but learn it, but maybe
Yes.
they're in the K-8 level. And however, we can enroll you in the Learn at Home program until a spot becomes available. And we utilize both
Sure.
of that as a strategy.
Sure. Oh, that sounds really good.
And we still get,
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about money because that's not what it's supposed to be about, but if we're looking at the budget and being sustainable, that
Yeah.
keeps that person in-house, and it also maybe even builds a continuity of we know who the online principal is, and there's a connection here, and it's, there's a connection that,
Well, and I think the budget, when we get those numbers, then we know what our budget dollars wise is gonna be, and then we know, have a better idea of where we can go and what we can do, and I think it makes it much simpler. But yes, I would love to be tracked.
so, but
Can I, I'd like to say that I think that we've been doing this, but when Mr. Gallagher mentioned that the charter is big and it needs to be reworked,
Mhm.
and that might help us be more with our budget if we were to do that. Plus, the other thing is the way all the children have to re every single year. So even though you have 9 kids that are coming back, your enrollment doesn't show until after school starts and the kids are all there. So there's no way to control that. Is there?
To control student enrollment?
No, no. What I'm saying, they're wanting to put a limit on how many
Right.
kids but we don't know where we're at because every year it's kind of like clean on who is here.
Right.
Because they have to re-enroll every year.
Right.
Right.
So we wouldn't know, there'd be a period of time that we didn't know what our enrollment was going to be.
So you got to think about with student enrollment, because we're as a charter district, we're busing in kids from all areas around. Do we give priority to in-district kids first? Well, I think by law we have to. We can't turn those away. But then, we may reach 23 in the registration phase, shut it down, but then now we have a family moves into our district boundaries and we have to add 5 more kids to that 23. So have to keep in mind that,
But
we
that's-
can set targets, but we never know exactly
Right,
what that'll
but
end up
that's,
to be.
those 5 kids, we can eat those. Those aren't gonna jump us over a line. Even if they're all in one class, if we're at 22, 25 kids, we can make 5 kids work.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm just trying to say,
Right.
it's
and it does,
You
have-
can't-
it's going to happen.
it's going to happen.
We're gonna have classes that'll have 20 kids.
Yeah.
But this other class may have 25.
Yeah.
And that's just how life is. It's
Yeah.
not a perfect line, so.
So all I'm trying to say is it's not a hard and fast
Right.
number. We have to realize there has to be some flexibility, but if there is, we can establish a target.
Yes.
And that's what we need to reevaluate and restate in our charter to make sure that we're clearly explaining and clearly communicating to the public how are going to be looking at these
So,
things.
so we already had that survey through the teachers with enrollment size
Yeah.
to 8s to.
Yeah.
With no 8s to 8s.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it seemed pretty consistent with the number. that we have.
Yeah, that's basic.
well, I know that's a practice though. That's not a policy.
Right.
Right.
So, and I think I think we want to be careful with that too, because we want to retain good staff. We want to allow their kids to come here.
Yes.
But what about the in-district families and things like that? Does a teacher get to, I don't know, that's an operational.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's, that could be part of the
It
discussion.
could be part of the charter though too.
Could be part of the charter, and we just need to look through all that. So, I would say your goal on, are you sure you want to make it a goal on budget? What I'm hearing is redoing the charter and addressing student enrollment. That's what I'm hearing.
I think it kind of has to go hand in hand. Because we're going, if we continue to grow, we're gonna outgrow our classrooms. Been in those classrooms with 30 some kids.
Yeah.
And it's not a good place.
Well, sure, it probably does. What, is there a waiting list to get in now, or are we capped at what are we at now? Because I don't think we've really grown. I
I
think
don't
we've
think so.
stated the
Yeah.
260, 270 for the last week.
I do not believe we have a waiting list, and I checked on enrollment this morning, and we're at 241 brick and mortar.
Okay, we'd like to have a waiting list.
Yeah.
So at this point, like, I think that's where we do, that's where we need the admin assistance, I think.
Yeah.
But that's, so that's
Yeah.
my question. Do we want to look at budget, or are we looking at having this year? Are we looking at budget, or are we looking at having a clear charter? Or do we want the charter to
Can we do
fall
both?
under the budget?
I don't think we have to worry about enrollment.
Right.
I think we have to worry
Right.
about budget
Yeah,
Okay.
I think budget is a big thing.
for this
I think
year.
it is too.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a long
Yes,
term.
I want,
I think budget is the biggest thing.
It's
over
a-
enrollment,
it's
because
gonna
I don't
be-
think we're gonna have to worry about it.
It's gonna be a heavy lift again. In fact, I was talking to Lorraine about budget today, and she was saying, Sean, we're already over in some categories. And I said, yeah, because at the time we had no historical data to build this budget. We're still establishing what we need and where things need to go in the right
Yeah,
drawers. And
so I mean.
that's a
that would
lot
be
of the
my-
heavy lifting.
My opinion for focus is the budget, not worry about enrollment this year.
So what's our goal? Is it to follow the budget that was set? Is it to maintain? Is it to, I don't know. Do we want
If-
Lorraine to help us write that goal maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
maybe,
She'd have a better idea of what
Yeah.
is realistic.
Yeah.
For us to know about.
yeah, I could get with her and bring you a,
I don't want to set us up for failure, you
No,
know,
that's
because
Yeah.
she has the
Yeah.
knowledge, so.
so let me involve her and we'll bring you guys a couple of recommendations to take a look at. And we kind of go
You know,
from
I
there.
think we have started to fix it because there's a control on how people order things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which we overspent a lot just on orders.
Right, right. Yes.
So-
it,
We're still training staff on it, but yes, we are implementing that.
So that is a part of the budget that is starting to be controlled. and
Yeah.
Spent quite a bit of time talking about those things already.
Well,
We're just
Lorraine,
having to watch it and see if it works.
she'll have a better idea with 240 kids.
Yeah.
Last 260, 70 kids of where we should be
Where we should
in
be,
the budgets.
yes.
Okay, so if I wrap us up there, because we're getting close, we're a little over, and we
Yep.
have a student, we have some curriculum. We have student achievement with a goal that states every student graduating from Mountain School District has a career plan in place with a couple strategies regarding grad plans start as early as grade 6, job shadowing, possibility of a senior project and career fairs. The second goal is community relations and transparency, and that is to create a communication plan in partnership with a public information officer. There's no strategies at this point on that one. And then the third is our budget, and that goal is really, Mr. Gallagher will meet with Lorraine Sullivan to suggest a board goal for us. All of these, Mr. Gallagher will meet with the admin staff to help develop strategy to go under each of these.
Yep.
Okay. Shirley,
Good.
I will send this to you and Sean, so you have my notes. All right. Next up is 6 to 12, no. Yes, grade 6 through 12 math curriculum adoption.
So at this point, I'd like to bring up our team to come and make a presentation. You don't have it printing out? Okay,
Is that the memo that we have?
yeah, that's the memo that you see in front of you. Let's see. Let me try and find.
So have you folks had a chance to look at the materials that were presented?
They have not.
We have the
Just
memo.
The memo, yeah.
They only have the memo and the packet of information that we sent.
Okay.
So let me print these off so you can have a copy. Can you, Shirley, can you grab them off the printer in there? I'm sending 2 of them. So as that's printing out, let me kind of just talk you through this memo a little bit. Lori's been doing a lot of work for us in regards to following the curriculum adoption policy. And so it's a matter of assembling her team. And we've had a lot more people as a part of that team. Miss Jackson has been one of them, as well as, can you share maybe who your team members are?
Cheyenne Jones and Joe Harris were the ones who initially, and so Joe Harris was teaching middle school math last year, and he's teaching it this year. And we've been doing the high school.
And Sarah.
But Sarah came in later.
Right.
We had already looked at them.
So your team has already gone through these materials. Oh, okay.
It started last.
I was gonna say,
spring.
how long was this
It
last?
started last spring. And
So we already have an elementary curriculum,
yes,
and what we're devoid of is a 6 through 12 curriculum.
yes.
So I kind of sent Lori on this mission to seek and find and work with the staff. And so the staff has evaluated multiple systems and come away with what's called Reveal Math, put out by McGraw-Hill as their choice. And this memo that's in front of you kind of talks about why they're choosing this curriculum. And I think one of the things that we need to make sure we talk about is the timing of this and why Reveal Math is not on the state adopted list right now, because it's an old list. So Lori, can you kind of just take it from there?
Yes. So every 6 years, the state forms a committee for each curriculum area. That's a rotating cycle. And so this year, they are studying, well, last year, they studied math curriculum. And then they go through a very rigorous rubric. And this is, if I wanted to do the rubric myself, but the team does a whole lot more. I mean, so this is what we've kind of looked at, but there's a committee of math experts that go through this process, and then they present their findings to Oregon Department of Education. Then Oregon Department of Education reaches out to the publishers and says, this is what we found. Now, talk to us. Going to make any changes? Are you going to offer us any deals? Are you going to do anything to address our standards specifically? And already Reveal Math meets our standards. And I know it has been reviewed, and in all likelihood, it's going to be on the adoption list, but no one at ODE or from the publisher will say anything until I think it's like October 20th. And so after that, yeah. But so we're in an off-year adoption. We have not been, we have offered our math teachers a variety of substandard materials over the years. And our students have had multiple curricula, multiple methods of learning. I wouldn't say that they've had a cohesive education in math. And our kids deserve better than that. And I believe that this program provides consistency, and it gives teachers a tool that makes sense. And last year, kids were begging for, of all things, a textbook. They wanted some kind of something that was a reference. This online, I mean, this has a great online component. I can tell you all the great things it has to meet the 21st century goals. But it also has everything that a parent would need to go, okay, here's what the textbook says, here's what the workbook says, here's what your Chromebook has on it. You know, I mean, you got to have these resources for us to work together, kids to learn. So I've said my little, do you want to add anything?
Well, what I like about it, as opposed to the other people we looked at, is let me back up a little bit. Post-pandemic, we have a ton of tools. There were kids that basically didn't do math for 2 years. So unlike, I think more than other subjects, math builds on itself, right? So if you're missing down here, it's really difficult up here. So we have people who kind of stayed in and people who completely backed off, concepts are completely missing, holes everywhere. And what I love about this curriculum is the differentiated learning. It's amazing. One thing that comes along with it is something we've wanted for years, which is ALEKS, ALEKS. It took me like 6 months to remember that spelling. But it's an adaptive program that meets kids where they're at. So if you're teaching this concept and you say, well, you know, let's see what you know, and they're up here, it shifts to up here. And if they say, whoa, we're down here, it'll shift down there. So it's really useful. Also, because we have so many different levels and so many holes, I have the tools with this to say, I can actually, it's way more objective than I am. I can say, wow, you need this and you need this, and I can try my best, but I am fallible. And this is data driven and it's much more objective than I am. And I can actually assign homework that on levels like, well, these mirror the examples that we've done, which would be like, I can see this, I can see this. The next level up is I can say, these kind of ideas from the unit flow with this. And then the next level up is do this problem, these problems, because this is like a little beyond with cognitive thinking skills. It's just amazing like that. I have way more tools to cater to our kids and post-pandemic, our kids need that. They really need that differentiated learning. And that's what I really love about this. And it's very approachable. And another thing, sorry, I feel
Go
I
ahead.
sound like a commercial. Assessments, they can do them online or they can do them in paper, which is huge because we have such anxiety around tests. And so they have more choice in that. They have interactive tools.
And I also learned that our MAP growth data can flow right into the online program. So take these assessments 3 times a year. We get data at least through 8th grade. How are we using it in each curricula area? And so this will actually feed into, not into ALEKS, but to the online materials, which will help you further assess. And it has an intervention program, which isn't always a component of middle and high school programs. It's more elementary, and they actually have that. So they're recognizing more of that differentiation, meeting our kids' needs. And so I'm very excited that we have something that teachers are excited about.
Can you give us a little bit of feedback from Mr. Harris and like what has been the feedback from those that have used it or have studied with it so far from your team?
Well, we haven't used it. We've had samples,
Okay.
and so we don't have the full program implemented.
Okay.
And basically we haven't talked with it yet. So
Okay.
I can't say that I know a lot about that. I know that Cheyenne likes it a lot, and she's very knowledgeable about these things and fresh out of just fresh out of college. And Joe likes it because he doesn't have an alternative, but he likes it. He's a very creative person. And he can learn to do that makes do very well with very little, but he liked it a lot too. But, so I can't really answer.
I should maybe rephrase that.
Okay.
Are you hearing any red flags with this curriculum as they've gotten to look through it?
No.
Okay.
No, and
They've
we
had
did with the
time.
others.
They've
Yeah.
had time. They looked at materials. They were pretty convinced this was where we were going to go last spring.
Mhm.
And Sarah has come on and she's an experienced teacher. She looked at the curriculum. It made sense to her. There were no concerns. So I felt like it was an absolute unified decision. We don't have anyone who's going to say yes, but then close their door and use something else.
Yeah, that will not happen. And there were concerns with the others. That we did that. They were just like, oh, each paragraph is, each problem is a paragraph. This is gonna be kind of tough for kids, So there were other concerns, but not with this.
So what if it doesn't make the list?
So there is a process for that. I would be very shocked if it doesn't make the list. The reason it wasn't on the last list is it hadn't been published. The publisher date is 2020. So it's current. It has all the components that meet the state standards and
And the last list was created 2015.
Yeah.
Just as a comparison.
And so we are taking this through the full process of an independent adoption. I've done independent adoptions in this district before and in other districts. And there is a clear process for that. I have been held to rigorous standards to show evidence that we have analyzed this and that it meets the standards. We filled out an optional form that I believe you now have electronically. I've sent it to you.
We need to
Still-
look.
Yeah. So it's a simple, I can't remember if I included Shirley on that one or not, but it's just a simple one pager where you, it can be something that can be shared with you folks electronically. It's a simple form that I filled out for both the 6 through 8 and the 9 through 12, the algebra, geometry, algebra 2. That's what we're getting from this program at this point. And there's no division, Division 22 standards do not require that we formally put anything at the state like we used to have to do. It just has to go in front of the board for approval.
So where are we at with the elementary curriculum? Like the timing on that, is the next one gonna be through this company to kind of go along with it, or what's the plan for that?
So the Bridges math is a very solid foundation that kids will easily transfer into this. The curriculum, the various curricula that were suggested to follow Bridges would not have fit our population at all. It would have freaked out our kids. It would have been the multiple paragraphs and to do a single problem, they wouldn't have had as much practice. So because we're new at implementation of this, and we do have a lot of mobile population, to bring in something radically different instructionally from a textbook, workbook, online format would be challenging. I think the teachers would struggle with that. But for K-5, it builds a really solid foundation. We adopted it last year. It's an Oregon company that's only for math. It's the Math Learning Center out of Salem. They make excellent materials, and they're going to be here. And so whether we stay with this on our next adoption cycle, we might even get in alignment and adopt at the same time next time with the state. That would be very exciting. I don't see a problem with that at this point.
But I thought I heard him ask was, how long is it gonna be before we look at changing or readopting? Or are we just gonna continue this one now for a long period of
The
time?
bridges, we
Yeah.
just adopted that last year. It was a unified decision so we
so it-
used it last year for the first year.
But we're looking at 4 or 5 years of using that then?
Yes.
6 with this.
Yes.
So they might end up expiring and having to be looked at about the same time.
And the thing about bridges is all of the updates, because the teacher's guides are a binder. Anytime there's something new, we get it electronically. You just change out that page in your 3-ring binder. So it's very current. Everything is up to date with bridges.
Okay.
You mentioned, you started to mention grade level and then moved to topic, so algebra and geometry. So does this get away from teaching at a grade level, but and teaching more to the ability of the students and allowing us to stay diverse in what we're teaching our students to meet their needs versus capping them at their grade level? Does that make sense?
I'm not sure I understand it.
So as a smaller district, I want, even though you're in 9th grade, if you're at a level of, and I am math stunted in so many ways, so please don't judge me. But if you're at a higher level than your peers in 9th grade, does it allow the teacher to, does it allow them to move fluidly within that they'd be in a different class, they get that different lecture, or are we gonna cap them at, well, this is the grade level you're at, and this is where you should be learning math, so we're gonna keep you here?
You can place students according to their ability in
We do have
mathematics.
different grade levels in different classes.
Okay.
in terms of algebra and
Yes.
geometry.
So we're going by
yeah,
ability, not by,
Yes,
Right.
Okay.
And there is, I mean, you would have to place there because algebra 1 is a prerequisite to pretty much everything else.
yes,
So you would, yeah.
yes.
And we have precedent of doing that with kids. Yes. And this is not the only math that we're going to be offering kids. Oregon and Mr. Gallagher has knowledge of this as a math educator. It's been around for a long time, the idea of having quality math education for people who are not planning to go into calculus. You know, that wasn't my direction. Getting quality math is, and maybe, so they have this thing now called the 2+1 math pathways or mathways. And it's an Oregon, is it in?
You have it
We have
in
it in
your,
the notes.
Yeah.
yeah, you have it in your packet there.
Yes, and so I have looked online. I've talked to Oregon Department of Education Curriculum Department. I've talked to my education support at the ESD. There are no standards yet for written standards for the alternative to the algebra geometry, algebra 2 sequence. But the concept is 2+1. You need algebra, a half a year of geometry, a half a year of
Statistics,
data
Data
science and statistics.
Yep.
And then the +1 gives us the option to provide other kinds of math education for high school credit. Finally, we have it official from the state that you don't have to take algebra 2 to get your 3rd math credit. So we're working on designing that. Our link at the ESD is attending all the math educator meetings that are going on through the course of this year. And I told her anything she learns, pass it our way. So right now, districts are building their own curriculum. And so you have a program that you're using, but we
Yes.
hope to bring some more materials in front of you. We just, literally, it's, this is the design and we don't have anything yet.
and one of the questions that Lori and I talked about was, gee, how does Reveal Math fit with this 2+1 model? And it'll fit quite easily.
Yes.
We don't have any concerns. We may have to supplement with some some statistics or
Right.
data science materials. That would be easy to insert into Reveal Math. And it would totally integrate with what this Reveal Math program is about.
Yes.
So it's not like we'd have to throw that out and start all brand new.
So it's $27,000 for 6 years, or is it
Yes.
27 per year?
For 6 years.
That seems like a low cost. Is that low? Is that competitive? Is that high? I'm just curious on where that falls.
I personally think it's a low cost,
Okay,
but
Kind
You
of what I
know.
thought for 6 years.
I was
Yeah,
like, I mean, that,
With all the stuff
Yeah.
that comes with it, online and all.
In fact, when we looked into Alex alone, I think it would have been more than that.
really,
It was,
Yeah, it's very reasonably priced.
what are the next steps for you? I mean, maybe that's a better question for you, but,
Well, Once the board approves this, I'm hoping they approve it tonight.
okay.
We've already initiated the purchase process and we'll do the final button push on that after the board approves this. And we'll get the materials as soon as we can. And there'll be some professional development. This also comes with its own professional development tools for teachers to do online. And so they know how to use the materials and what to look for, because every set of curriculum is set up slightly different. And so there'll be some training there, and then we'll get it in the hands of the kids and get going.
And do they have it on hand, ready to go? Or-
Or is
I
it
can
back
speak
ordered
to
for
that.
6
Okay,
months?
I was gonna say everything else is back ordered, so.
the rep did say she wasn't sure which components at the Northwest Textbook Depository were readily available. But since we have the Northwest Textbook Depository, I can contact them and find out exactly what we have. Once this is approved and they have the order, they can say how soon they can fill all those components. The rep just couldn't say what was actually at the warehouse. And we have the privilege of getting it from Portland, so the shipping is nothing compared to from the East Coast.
So if your board approves this evening, is it a possibility to start the professional development components of it before you get the curriculum? Or,
Absolutely.
I mean, is that something that they can get started on right away, that as soon as the materials are in hand, the students can start transitioning to that? Any other questions? Thank you for letting us learn with you on curriculum adoption.
Good job, ladies.
All right, it's exciting. It is.
All right, that brings us to a close of our work session at 6:58 p.m. Let's take a quick 5-minute break and then we'll jump into our regular board session, which should start around 7:03. work session open. Oh my gosh, to order. Thank you.
Mhm.
Let's start with the flag of salute, please.
No flag?
Oh, we don't. Oh.
It's a little one. Hold it up there, Nathan. There you go. There we go.
I pledge
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing no changes, we will accept the agenda and move into district recognition.
Resignation.
Yeah,
This gentleman better not be resigning. We want to honor one of our employees tonight, and the board wants to be doing this every time. We just got students back, so we honor students too. But this gentleman has been a big part of the district. This gentleman is a big part of the district. Is that better, Nathan? And he drives things home, literally drives things home. And so it's been a pleasure to work with him all this time. And so we just wanted to recognize Keenan Elders. Congratulations. Yeah. Hang on. Let's get a picture here. Hold up your certificate. That is your check.
Oh.
Thank you, man.
right. Next up, we will have our superintendent report.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Lots of things to report tonight. I'm going to go kind of quickly through a lot of things, but the first thing is I've got to make an announcement. As of 6 p.m. tonight, I became a grandpa for the third time. So yeah, pretty excited. I have not seen any pictures yet, but as soon as I do, I'll be showing everybody. District kickoff event in service week. My goodness, it was a great kickoff. Thank you to the board members that were able to make it, as well as the people in the community. We fed breakfast and lunch to our staff Monday through Thursday. We tried to treat them with as much honor and respect as they deserve. And we had some staff training that week. There were some online trainings for staff on safe schools. We also paid our classified employees an additional time to finish that training because like 10 hours of training online. So it was quite the tough heavy lift there. We also did some IA training for our in-class assistants. And we also made sure there's lots of classroom time for the teachers. That was very important. I remember those 10 years that I was teaching, and I did not appreciate in-service week when I didn't have any time in the classroom. So we made sure there's lots of classroom time. So a lot of the reports from the teachers was they've been making statements. Wow, it's nice to have a normal start of the school year. Thanks for all the time in the classroom. They were finally ready for Monday morning with the students. And we just finished our first week with the students, and I looked at our staff today and everybody was tired. They're exhausted. We currently have a little over 240 in terms of enrollment, brick and mortar. We are watching carefully the online enrollment, and it's only at 181 right now, but we need to give it through Labor Day for sure before we really start to see what the numbers are, because there's a lot of schools that don't start till later. We're one of the earliest starts. And so we'll just keep our eye on that and hope for the best there. But our brick and mortar enrollment is very, very healthy. And of those 240, we have about 50 new students to this school. So a lot of the people are walking around going, who's this? Who's that? We have a lot of new students. And so I think the word is getting out in terms of this is a great place to be. Speaking of which, we've been working on communications with our new PIO, Public Information Officer, and we just toured one of the reporters from Corvallis through our school district on Wednesday. It was a wonderful event. This reporter was very impressed. especially when she walked through and said, wow, students are in class, they're learning, teachers are teaching. You know, everything was just very orderly. And so she wants to help out and help spread the word about the great things going on in this district. And so we're looking forward to working with her. Also, I've already gotten a few phone calls. We're announcing a fireside chat, the very first superintendent fireside chat next Tuesday at 6 p.m. I've done these for years, and you know, it's not actual fire, but maybe we'll put up a simulated one on YouTube or something. But this is just simply a time for me to have a chance to talk to people in the community. So I'll have a short presentation, but then I'll open it up for questions and answers. This is not a time for complaints. That's not what this is about. This is about just sharing information. Hey, Mr. Gallagher, what's going on with the math textbook adoption? Hey, Mr. Gallagher, what's going on with their football program? You know, and there might be questions that people ask that I don't know the answer to that. Let me get back to you on that. We'll have sign-up sheets. We have people's communication information, but I'm going to be doing these often throughout the school year. This is not just a one-time event. And how often, haven't determined that yet. But please get the word out. Love to see people, love to hear their questions, love to interact with them, get to know them. It's just part of our communications plan in terms of how we're reaching out to the community. Is Mr. Rothenberger on? Mr. Rothenberger, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Bart. Hey, I asked Bart to do a quick presentation on the upcoming Jamboree this weekend. So Bart, can you kind of fill people in terms of what's going on?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So it's changed a lot. At first, we had about 6 football teams and 6 volleyball teams. And as this morning, I had 3 volleyball teams. And as about 4 hours ago, I had 2 volleyball teams. And now we're down to 5 football teams. So everybody's been fluctuating, but we are excited to host a jamboree for volleyball and a jamboree for football. It will start at 11 o'clock. Actually, volleyball will be just a straight game with the Junction City Tigers at 11, best of 5 series there. And our jamboree football will start off at 11. The visitors will be Eddyville, Riddle, Napa. The Napa Loggers are coming all the way from the North Coast up there, and then Mohawk and us. And so you can only play a total of 36 offensive snaps. And so each team will get 36 offensive snaps. Some will be playing 8-man offense. Some will be playing 6-man offense. And the Napa Loggers will be playing 9-man offense. We will have the Booster Club down there selling their gear, and they're going to help us also with concession stands. And it's going to be a great day at in LC. Any questions?
Bart, what time does it start on Saturday?
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock, and it's scheduled to go for how long?
About 2.5, 3 hours.
Okay, volleyball starting the same time?
Yes, yes. And we are charging admission because it's a special event. And bringing that many teams in, we have to charge admission. So it'll be $5 for adults and $2 for students. Our students are free.
Any questions for Bart? Great. Thanks, Mr. Rosenberger. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, have a nice night. So we've got the Jamboree going on this weekend. Today, we had a secondary assembly in the gym, and that was a fun event. Had a lot of staff walk away from that going, hey, this is getting me going too. They were pretty excited about it. And so that was a real positive thing. We're also, keep in mind, I've been receiving some communications from some concerns in regards to school accountability. This is a different school this year. And yes, we are really cracking down on tardies and attendance, cell phones, food in the classrooms. We want students to be learning, but we also give them times for breaks. We're feeding them free breakfast and lunch again this year. So there's no excuse for them not to be nourished and ready to go in terms of the classroom. And I've already heard about some students are saying, what? I have to show up to class on time or else I can't practice that night? Yeah, you just need to get to class on time. So it's been a little bit of a transition for some of the kids, but you know what? It's all good. It's really good. HR reset. I know that's been on a lot of people's minds. You're only going to see the health reimbursement account recommendation from me tonight because there's still a lot of heavy lifting that we're doing. As I've explained before, some people will be reset in terms of their salary coming down. Some people's salaries will be coming up because they're grossly underpaid. Other people's, we've been adding duties to match their salaries. So there's a lot of transition going on, and I promised everybody that I would make sure I had a chance to talk with them before I brought the recommendation to the board. I don't want them to have any surprises. And because of how this week started and how busy we've been, it's been a good busy. It's been a good week. I just haven't gotten around to everybody yet. And so I don't want to rush this. I want to make sure we're doing it correctly. But we have certified contracts are in the wings. We just got them back from the attorney this week. We're about ready to issue those. Job descriptions are being developed. Keep in mind that part of my recommendation packet, if anybody's salary is going to be cut, that we give them grace until January before that happens. But also my recommendation, if there's increases in salaries, those will be retroactive to July 1st. So that'll be a part of what I bring to the board, hopefully next board meeting. We still need to conduct a financial analysis of the entire package. What is it going to look like? Are we saving? Are it going to cost us? What does this look like? We're almost done with our faculty handbooks, and we're doing that per classifications like classified versus certified versus confidential, because everybody kind of has a different operating platform. And we're still looking at some comparisons analysis too. We're trying to reach out, and that's been a heavy lift because not all the districts want to take the time on the phone to tell you what their wages and salaries are in comparison positions, because they're busy too. So that's been kind of a heavy lift. Curriculum, as you saw tonight, 6 through 12, math adoption, they'll be recommended tonight. English language arts, K through 12 is next on the docket for curriculum adoption. That's going to take some time. Let's see, we talked about enrollment, bond project. You'll see a report here in a little bit with Scott Marshall and Andy from CB Constructions, but we're moving forward. Hopefully you'll hear from Andy tonight that we have all of our subcontractors secured. That is, okay, that's good. And we still have some permits that are being held at the county. They're just waiting to hear who our subcontractors are. Then they will be issuing those permits. So we're ready to go here. We're working on a staging area for equipment. And that's been a big source of discussion, but we're going to combine it with a recommendation from Mr. Van Leuven as the fire chief that we expand the driveway that's coming into the parking lot to include a fire lane. And if you think about it, that's a really good recommendation. And so we're trying to combine that with the bond project, and we're going to be using that extra space temporarily for staging equipment. So we're not taking up the parking lot, we're not taking up grass and creating a mud pit out there and things of that nature. And then once we finish the project, then we'll pave over that staging area that will be paralleling the driveway. Then we'll have our fire lane plus an expanded driveway. So we're pretty excited about that. We're also looking at some electrical panel room options. And I'm sure Scott or Andy will talk more about that tonight. We're not ordering a generator. That keeps getting, it's a question that is commonly asked. No, that's off the table right now. And as we get the school year going and we have, a full load in our brick and mortar schools, we can definitely see the need for a kitchen cafeteria. We have a bottleneck going on. And so I think we just need to keep that in mind. And again, the ideas are we would create the shells for the vocational center and the kitchen cafeteria, and then we'd fill it in later, depending on the budget. We're not sure how far we're going to get. Again, all the bids haven't come in yet. We're still working on the guaranteed maximum pricing. And we all know the bids are coming in much higher than what we were estimating. So we're watching that carefully, but basically we need a vocational center and we need a kitchen cafeteria for our kids. Food service. Food service has been going great. Corvallis Food Service. I know the board approved the new contract with them. They've been here multiple times, training our staff, visiting our site. They love coming out here. They think it's great. So it's been wonderful to see them. Safety is another topic that has crossed my desk a lot in the last couple of weeks. So I have administration working on creating a drill schedule, because a lot of people are saying, hey, are you gonna do lockdown drill? Are you gonna do fire drills? Are you gonna do earthquake drills? The answer is yes, yes, and yes. And we're gonna be make sure that we are adhering to the state requirements in terms of those drills. Also, we're still working out all the bugs, but we do have mostly a new intercom system that's installed. And that's a huge piece. If we get a scary man or a woman in the building and we need to go into lockdown, we need to be able to push one button and it goes through the whole building of lockdown and lockdown now. And so that intercom system is a crucial piece of equipment for us. We're still partnering with Benton County Sheriff's Department. We have a school resource officer will be here once a week. But we're also starting to explore the idea of a campus security officer. Don't know where that's going to go yet. But, you know, we only have the SRO 1 day a week. And sometimes, you know, the real benefit of an SRO or a school campus security person is prevention. If they're reacting to something, they missed their calling. They need to be keeping their ears to the ground, relationships with the kids, with the parents, with the community, and being in that preemptive type mode. Prevent things from ever happening. So just exploring it. Electronic locks we just got the other day, so we'll be experimenting with those. And we're also going to be ordering what are called night locks, and that's a whole nother discussion for another time. LBL ESD, again, we have a strong working relationship with them. We just sent Mr. Pearson to a mentor-mentee training session, and we're going to be getting a mentor-mentee program going this year for our young teachers and our veteran teachers. And we'll be paying them stipends pending board approval and negotiations with the union. And it's all grant funded. There's a state grant that is allowing for our salary for Mr. Pearson as a mentor, mentee, and instructional coach, as well as the stipends to help those people participating in that program. So we're really excited about that. Budget, we're training new staff on a new electronically generated requisitions process for purchasing. So no longer is it go see Bryn. It's now put in a requisition and get it to your immediate supervisor, and then it goes on down the line. So Lorraine has been a big part of getting that going, and we're still working out on all the bugs on that too. And that ensures that we have checks and balances that are built into the system. And, you know, we'll be watching budgets and dealing with that rather than at the end of the year going, uh-oh, we overspent this budget. No, we need to make sure that we're being good stewards of our valuable tax dollars. Teacher evaluations. Admin team is going to start receiving some training tomorrow from our HR consultant. We're having to reach to other districts that already have evaluation systems in place. It's been a state law since 2013, and this district doesn't have anything in place. So we're starting quickly. And we also, part of state law says we have to work collaboratively with our certified union to work on the evaluation system tools. So even though we're going to jumpstart with something that's already made, we're still going to be working with our union members and refining it throughout the year. It's usually a 2-year process, so we're going to try and cram it into 1 year. And so by the end of this year, we will have a good system that is in agreement with the union, but also people have already been going through their goals and their observations and their evaluations at the end of the year. So that's also going to be a heavy lift for us, but I'm looking forward to it. I've talked to a lot of staff. They're actually excited about it. They want to be evaluated. They want to know how they're doing, you know, and they want that feedback. And so that's really noble on their part. Negotiations, the board will also see a request for an early opener to negotiate certain articles of the collective bargaining agreement with the union. I'm in complete support of this request. They want to do an early opener because there's a lot of things that they have not been included in the past. One of them particularly stipends. when we're issuing stipends out to union members without having negotiated that stipend with the union, we're out of compliance. That's a dangerous area to be in. So we are working with the union and we want to address the stipends with them and make sure that we're bargaining in good faith with them on not only stipends, but also salary. And there's some other things they want to take a look at. So that's kind of where we're at as a district.
I have a couple questions.
Yep.
When it comes to the intercom system and the door locks that we've already approved, what is the timeline for installation?
The intercom system is already installed. We're working out the bugs.
Okay.
So Nicole Davis has been on the phone with tech to figure out how it's all should be working, but we pretty much, Keenan, you have any?
All the intercom system itself is all hooked up on communicating. Technical bugs to work out. As far as the bugs go, yesterday. That can, let's say next week.
Thank you. And then my one other, I think it's actually maybe a request more than a question, but when we look at safety drills, so fire drills, evacuations, lockdowns, is it possible once that gets through your admin team, can we please get some communication out to parents about their role in this? What are the pickup areas?
Yes.
Should they be calling the school?
Yeah.
Getting them
Protocols.
some really
Yeah.
defined protocols so we don't have
Yeah.
chaos because it's already chaotic in an
Yeah.
emergency. So if we could get them something
Good idea.
to all the parents and even community members, because
Yeah.
in general,
Good idea.
I think that would be really helpful.
Yep.
If we could post that online, that
Yep.
would be outstanding.
We also have to be careful. We can't communicate everything. Some things need to be safety secrets.
Well, yes, I'm thinking more like if we evacuate the primary and the secondary sides of the school, is there a location we should know
Right.
where to pick them up?
Right,
Is there
absolutely.
a process,
Right.
should we have them park at the library versus
Right.
coming in the front area,
Right. Yeah.
whatever strategy
Those are good-
your
yeah.
teams work out.
Protocols.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can certainly do that.
In certain instances, those might change at the time, right?
It depends. Yeah. I mean, we might identify multiple staging areas. Just depends on where the emergency is,
Well, we have an automated phone system where we can record a message that hits our
Mhm.
district parents.
Yeah.
That maybe that is the protocol, that you would get a
Yeah.
message, whatever that might be, just some communication to what parents
Yeah.
can expect during
Mhm.
that time.
We need to take a look at all that.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Let's move on to our bond updates. Part of that was in your superintendent report. I didn't know if there's anything more.
Oh, yes.
We do have Ms. Van Leuven from our bond committee to be here to answer questions or ask questions also. Do you want to come take a seat up here with us? If you don't want to move, you're good.
So we should have, Nathan, we should have Andy and, okay, Andy and Scott, are you there?
I am here.
Okay. We're pulling you up here so we can see you.
I'm here as well, but I can't hear people in the back of the room.
Yeah,
We can repeat their questions.
we'll repeat their questions. Keenan wants to
Okay.
know where his check is.
I thought you just gave it to him.
I thought I did too.
Real quick,
Okay.
Keenan, well deserved. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
So Andy and Scott, this is your time to report to the board.
Okay. You want to go first? Or you want me to go first, Andy?
You go ahead. You've got a really nice written report.
Okay, so good evening, everybody. Sorry, I don't have video. I'm stuck at an airport. My flight was delayed and I was supposed to be home to call in, but now I'm sitting here looking out the window. So So the VOC building, the construction is underway, as everybody can see. We've issued 4 architect supplemental instructions, which are ASIs. We use that kind of paperwork to track changes, modifications, and so on. They've addressed site conditions related to domestic water routing, sewer reconfiguration, and building staking. And then Andy will kind of fill you guys in as needs be of what the progress is on those. So the HVAC upgrade project, we received a check set of drawings at the beginning of this week, and I've gone through it, sent corrections back to the engineer. The project engineer has been working on this, has been out on personal leave, and he's the owner of the company. And so I've been working with their designer that's been kind of doing it, trying to get him caught up so we can get that done. The power panel and hallway project, we have value engineered the enclosed hallway portion out and replaced it with a covered walkway. Now the walkway will be an alternate to the bid. So when that portion of that change comes in, we can either opt to construct it or not based on costs, and that will kind of dovetail into the rest of where all the other prices are coming in, and then we can make an educated decision whether or not we want to do that. We've also finalized the location of the power panel room. There's a couple things that we've determined were some of the more costly things. The covered walkway will be a non-combustible steel walkway. A lot of the cost to the hallway was due to some firewalls that we had to put in because of increasing the size of the building. Has certain requirements that weren't required when the building was built. So by making it non-combustible, it can't catch on fire, so we don't have to take those. We don't have to install firewalls to protect the structure, which will be more of a cost. Will be the cost savings. And then we also have kind of determined the optimum layout for the panel room for flexibility and cost effectiveness as well. Flexibility moving forward with cafeteria coming online and making sure that we maintain a pathway into it. That's an ADA path. We will be, now that we kind of know what we're doing and what the best the route is, that we're going to immediately get on doing a plan modification for that, so that we can change that up and get it priced and get the permit altered. The power upgrade, we've finished the value engineering. I've been working with the electrical engineer. The original design from what we have come up with did not vary too much. It was pretty efficient. The one thing being the most cost savings was the elimination of the generator. And it's not only the generator, but it's also all of the components and parts and pieces that go with it. The transfer switch is expensive. The communication between what basically tells it when the power's off and then flip on. There's a lot to it from the control side that some of that in cost savings are going to come from. I've asked Consumers Power to give us an update regarding the transformer delivery. They have not heard that it has been delayed, but I did ask them to please check and see if it is, or if it's on track, if it's going to be early or what. They will, she said she would get back to me and let me know. So those are the projects that are currently underway. During this next month, we'll get the hallway and the power drawings all wrapped up now that we figured out the best, most economical and efficient solution for that. The HVAC drawings will be done. And then that will allow us to do our overall project construction cost tabulation, because they have to give revised numbers for what our modifications are. Highlights, challenges, and solutions. The rising construction costs continue to be an issue. However, costs seem to be leveling out as subcontractors become more available. I've been seeing more interest, not only in our project, but in other projects around that I've had input on. So everybody's, I don't know if they're slowing down or they're just ramping up, but there's more interest in that construction community for construction, which is a good thing for us. And I just wanted to say that, you know, as we've gone forward with the VOC building, some of the utilities and some of the routing and stuff haven't been exactly where they were indicated. And doing the revisions that we've had to do have been pretty seamless by both CB and then their dirt contractor. They've been really proactive with you know, kind of operating on the fly and making adjustments as needed. That's not always a typical thing. So I'm pleasantly surprised that we're able to just kind of go with the flow and keep things rolling. You guys have any questions?
I might have a few questions after Andy's update. I don't know who owns what, so.
Yeah.
Maybe we could go through Andy's update and then we can take questions.
That's a good idea.
My side of this is going to be more from the operational, you know, what you can see, touch and feel out there. Obviously, we have a cut open and gravelled. It's ready for foundations, and our concrete subcontractor is on board. He's trying to gather together his materials and get a crew together, but right now they're booked. We're probably looking at another week to a week and a half before we see anybody come over and start forming and getting ready for foundations. We do have his material submittals in for concrete and rebar, so those will be approved. He can start ordering pieces and parts, and we should see some materials start to arrive before too long. To get back to Scott's comment or Sean's comment earlier, we do not have all of our contracts in and bought out. We do have the major ones in our grasp, other than framing. I'm working really tight right now on getting a framing number in. So as soon as we get our concrete set, we get the slab in, we can start putting walls up. And then, you know, the big milestone for us will be getting the roof on the building so that it's weather resistant, and that will allow us to work whether it's raining or not. So that's going to be the big goal for us right now, field wise. Budget wise, Derek is still working on assembling the GMP with what we know we are going forward with. The recent modifications and alternatives via either ASIs or some of the discussion we had today about the driveway and storage and laydown areas, albeit minor. Those do have an impact of kind of, it's not clearly defined which way we're going to go, so we need to put some numbers to it so we can get some definition and hone those in. I've talked to him, we're with him every day this week, and I know that he's been working on it. I had hoped we would have had that in for tonight's meeting, but I don't have that. We don't have that available right now. So one thing we did talk about yesterday in earnest was getting an order in for the electrical switchgear that we need. And as Scott mentioned earlier, we've looked at a minor relocation of the room. We just need to make sure that we have the size in there and that we get the gear ordered that fits the room. We need to allow a little bit of room in there too for future expansion for the emergency generator control and the automatic transfer switch for when that may come in somewhere down the road. We need to accommodate that need for space. Some of the discussion in a meeting earlier today was around the storage laydown area. We talked about the electrical service. We talked about that area that was removed for the hallway and trying to expedite repaving that area now that the hallway is going to go away. Today's discussion made it pretty clear that we can go in and replace the pavement that's been taken out with the new material, and then we can open that back up to public use, if you would. It would be a safe area for kids and teachers, students and teachers, sorry. We do have a new body on board. We have a superintendent who was just assigned yesterday. Going to bring him down tomorrow. Neil, I can't remember his last name or pronounce his last name. Anyways, we'll have him down there tomorrow. I'm going to walk him around, introduce him to people, show him where we are, try to get him ramped up as quick as possible. And then he will be our day-to-day on-site representative, as opposed to my coming down a day or two, 1, 2, or 3 days a week, as I've been trying to do. So we'll have a better on-site presence going forward. That's about it for me at this point. I think if there are any questions out there, we can field those.
So let's go to the bond committee first. Any comments or questions?
Materials and concrete. So how does the materials and concrete play? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so the question is, when you addressed that materials and parts will be delivered, how do we have that already in place if there's no subcontractor hired and bid approved for concrete or for foundation?
Well, as we did with the earthwork, we have moved forward. I'm going to say at an at-risk position. Sorry about that. My dog's going off in the background here. So quiet her down. We've moved ahead and engaged those people because they were available and we needed to get this started, and we couldn't afford on behalf of the project, period, to wait until we had everything in place. So right now, basically CB is covering those costs and the materials that are coming in until we get everything formalized and finalized will be on us until we get the GMP in and signed off. No.
So Andy, I think there's still some confusion. I'll just be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you expand on that a little bit more in terms of how we're able to get this work done when we don't have the contracts in place? I think that's the question.
And I think the bottom dollar in place. So I think that my concern is you're approving work to be done without a dollar amount that the board has seen to move forward on.
Right.
I think she's talking about GMP.
Right. The approved GMP. We are working with, or say within the budget that has been identified and that is defining our path. We haven't finalized the exact dollar totals on each line item within that budget at this point to the board as the GMP to move forward. We're working, as I call within, underneath those budget limits. We're not spending anything that is over those limits, but at this point, it's becoming, it's more of an agreement between CB Construction and the subcontractor on behalf of the project that we are paying these people to move forward and get that, advance the work so that we can maintain some schedule while the numbers, the GMP numbers are being assembled for finalization.
And while I can appreciate that you're working through time constraints and things like that, I think a big red flag for me is that we asked for a budget that was with and without modifications that this board has not seen. So we did not make multiple approvals. We did not vote. We wanted to see those numbers, and so did the bond committee, I believe. So I do really, really appreciate the work of trying to stay on time and keep progress going, because I know that you heard us complain about that, and I don't want to discredit that, but I have some big red flags about our asks that have not yet been met and continuing to move forward when we know it's very delicate cost-wise. So where are we with getting the with and without modifications budget?
That is something that I need to rely on Derek to do. That's one of the functions that he performs on behalf of the company. So I don't have that answer for you right now. I need to get back to Derek and squeeze on that.
So the VOC building has not been modified from its original design. The only modifications have been due to unforeseen site conditions such as, the plumbing and those sorts of things that we've done. So the budget numbers that, and you can correct me and jump in if you want to, Andy, but the final numbers that for the GMP, they need to buy out the entire project, or they need to plug in what the allowances are so we can get there. And so, yes, this is a very different approach to how we're doing it normally. The reason being that we've discussed earlier is that if we don't, the subcontractor availability has been difficult to get. And some contractors have come in and said, hey, we want to, start and get our bid going. And if you don't respond to them in time because you can't get other numbers in order to pull a final GMP together, then their numbers expire. And so because the interest has been limited, it's pulled this out. So this is the strategy that CV is undertaking in order to get things moving to facilitate the contractors that we indeed do have, and not lose them, and then propagate the ones that are missing as we move forward. So again, it's not a ideal situation, nor is it a typical situation. If there is a big concern, what we can do is, instead of having a GMP, we can do an amendment, and you can approve the concrete cost numbers or any of the subcontractors bids that come on individually. So that, like, if we have a number from when the contract guy or when the concrete guy, when he finalizes his bid, if you'd like, one of the things that I've done in other districts is CB can go, here's the concrete number, and you approve it, and then we'll go through an amendment process, add that to the contract, and we can piecemeal it as we go until we get everything put together.
And by doing that, we can compare it to the original budget line item by line item as we go along. If
But
that's,
we can if we approve concrete and then framing and then finish work, because it might be over budget by the time we get to framing or finish work. So we need a final number.
yeah, well, that's
We can't
certainly,
just start doing subcontractors, because by the time this is over, it might be $3 million.
right. No, understood. And I mean, it's been very, very clear since I've been engaged on board that we need to get the GMP done. And that's, it is the proper way to go. So.
So that means they can't start concrete next week.
So I think I'm gonna paraphrase and I'm looking at Cheryl and Keenan a little bit too as bond committee members. There was multiple priorities that we were really tied on, that we didn't argue. We debated back and forth of what was best for our students and staff. And a lot of our decisions on this board hinged on what we could remove and what we could add in or what we could have in place to kind of complete this whole project for the benefit of all of our students.
Yes.
Now, Andy, I appreciate the place that you're in because you're hearing my concern and you don't have the solutions because you can't come up with them because it's not in your purview. And I appreciate that. But this is where I'm going to look to you, Mr. Gallagher, and I'm going to ask that we really ask Derek to get this in line. He had given us 48 hours. He had said 48 hours and, you know, we pushed that a little bit, but we're over a month and a half now that he hasn't gotten these numbers to us. I don't want to hold Andy accountable to something that isn't something that he even is entitled to do for their company. So we need those numbers, I would say, by our next board meeting.
I will call.
Andy, I really appreciate you hearing our feedback and our concerns. Thank you very much for that.
Oh, no, yeah. No problem. No problem at all.
So can I clarify the numbers that you're looking for are the VOC guaranteed maximum price numbers, correct?
No. Well, yes,
one of them.
Yeah.
that's one of them. But the entire list, we wanted to know what was the cost of a hallway versus not a hallway? What was the cost versus with a generator, without a generator? What was the cost of the VOC with framing or with internal framing or without internal framing? And now it sounds like the cafeteria might be an option to do a shell without anything inside of it. And what does that cost look like? So we're really looking at the cost comparison with all the things we wanted on our wish list versus the shell without that. Am I speaking correctly for the board?
Yes.
Yes. So, and I'm trying to think how that Andy and Scott can do this when we're having troubles with getting people to buy the contracts. Is that what I'm hearing from you, Andy and Scott?
Well,
The VOC building, like I said earlier, the design hasn't changed. Where the documents that people are bidding to and putting numbers to have been the same. The hallway and the other project components, the estimates came in and the hallway estimates came in so high that it just wouldn't work. Right? We can agree that, hey, we can't do everything. So let's start value engineering and looking what we can do to whittle these down as much as possible so that we get the biggest bang for the buck. And so we have a solution. We're working towards that. If I were to give Andy the drawings completed and the designs, and okay, this is what we're taking out and this is what we're doing tonight, he wouldn't have numbers in 2 weeks.
Why doesn't he have the drawings?
We have completed looking at what we need to do in order to value engineer and take out the costs and figure out the best solution. We are working on those and trying to get those completed so that he can do that. I just don't want to, say, hey, yeah, you will have the whole GMP with everything that's changed, because that will take a little longer. Now, keep in mind that the VOC building, if that doesn't occur in the order of things, then there can't be a cafeteria, and
Right.
none of the things downstream from it can happen.
But you're going off of your drawings with everything that you have in your drawings on it now, right?
Say that again.
So every classroom, every design room, every office is what you're going off of right now in the VOC, right?
Correct. Now,
So
as we move,
if we can't afford that, but we can afford the building with 4 walls and nothing in it, that's what we might have to do. So
Correct.
how, we need those numbers and we need a full building numbers.
Right. So what I'm saying is that by the time that we get to the point where the walls will be framed, the siding will be on, and we'll have a shell, that will be longer than 2 weeks, obviously. By the time that we get to that point, the other numbers will be in and we can make an educated decision.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna ask the questions and because I don't have the knowledge in this area, I'm gonna ask for a little grace as I get through these questions, but I was under the impression that on our August 1st meeting and vote, we made it clear that we wanted the drawings changed to be able to have both of those. So I didn't think that we wanted to have all the walls put up for you to tell us we were over budget. We wanted to see what that budget looked like before you built the walls. Did we not? I apologize if we did not make that clear, but that was our vote.
The walls at the VOC building?
Yeah, yes.
We wanted a number before anything was built, not in the middle of building a building that we might not be able to have. That's where our problem is we might have a building that we might get halfway through and not have any money to finish it and do nothing else. And that's my biggest concern being in construction is you can't start a building and have walls and then say, well, this is our budget now and we're already over, we can't finish this. We need numbers now before we start putting walls up. That's my opinion.
So Scott and Andy, is that something you can deliver very shortly for us?
This has been asked for many months now, and it's been drug on. And I know there's contractors and sub issues, but they took this project on knowing what the budget is. They should have, as a contractor, a pretty good idea what these numbers are going to be, and they're not even close to what our estimates are. I can't work like that, and I don't think any construction company can work like that.
So
Okay,
Andy and
so,
Scott,
yeah, so if that's what we want to do, we can stop the construction. Just stop it dead until we get all of the bid numbers in for the VOC.
is that what the board wants to do?
I think it's our only option.
Can we take can I actually give us a 5-minute recess, please? I'd like to look back at what our motion was and what we approved as the board, and I need a minute to dig that out. Can I put us in a 5-minute recess, please? Thank you. All right, so we are back in session. Thank you for allowing us just a quick pause to get some information. So I think there's confusion maybe on all of our parts. And again, that it is the beast of virtual. So at this point, there's a couple things that we'd like to do, I believe, at CB Construction. So Andy, can you get us you've gotten us an estimate on the electrical components at this point for this project for the VOC building?
Mm-hmm.
Can you also please provide us with a concrete and a plumbing estimate, because those are within your purview to complete, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna have Mr. Gallagher follow up with Derek, because I believe that's the appropriate person to follow up with to get us some estimates on the three things within your purview, so the board can see those numbers. That'll be concrete, electrical, and plumbing.
Okay.
And then, because we're struggling, I think, with communication and clear expectations, is the board okay with us taking a pause here? And I would like to have, I think it would benefit us to have Sean work with Dave McKay, who's our consultant from the ESD for bond projects, to take this information. We're struggling with clear communication and standards with all of us. You know, none of us seem to be on the same page again. So rather than have another work session where we have everybody here to re-identify that, we would have Mr. Gallagher work with Dave McKay to outline that and provide that overview to the board and send to Straight Line and CB Construction. Are there concerns with that?
I think that's a great idea. I agree. That's a very good idea. Yep.
I mean, is there any, Sean, or not Sean, Ryan, do you have, what questions do you have on that?
We just need some numbers.
And with those numbers, Sean, I'd like to see a conversation with Mr. McKay on the numbers with shells, without framing internally, for all of the projects. So again, we're back to really wanting the numbers for modifications to the project and the full dollar amount of the project.
When you say the project, do you mean the VOC project or all of the bond projects?
I
combined?
mean, all of the bond projects.
And you want only the shells for all of the bond projects, or you want and completion of all of the bond projects?
Yes, that was the vote from the board. What was that, Keenan? Yeah, because we need those, we need the drawings and the budget, the rough numbers, because that was part of that, how we made that decision, correct?
We have.
Correct. Yeah, they're all combined together. So you have to look at it as one piece. That's true.
Yes. So as a reminder from our August 1st meeting, our priorities were as listed. HVAC, priority 1, HVAC, power panel, power upgrade. Priority 2, VOC center. And priority 3 was the kitchen cafeteria. Those were the 3 priorities that the bond committee and the board voted on for wanting numbers for modifications, with modifications, and without modification. So full completion number. And we do understand that those are estimates based on knowledge in the business and that they're not bidded numbers. We wanted estimates to be able to make decisions.
So gentlemen, if you want to reference the priorities from that work session, it's in tonight's board agenda. And it's listed work session meeting 8/1/2022. So you can see where all that discussion occurred.
Okay, that sounds good.
From our bond committee members that are present, is there anything else that we need to take into consideration, or do you have any questions that you'd like Mr. Gallagher to follow up on with his meeting? Okay. Thank you. Thank you both, Scott and Andy. Appreciate you working with us while we work through those topics.
Certainly.
All right, moving on to our next agenda item is our financial report with Ms. Sullivan. Hello.
So I was asked to provide a potential cost savings of items that are as of right now, some of these items are posted, but for replacement, but it's as of right now. And so the top section of position title and then reclassifications are savings. So the 1.2 and the 343 are the savings. And then the new positions and the contract changes are additional costs. So the end of it is 839 as a potential savings. I wanted to make sure everybody was aware that full payroll is wages and benefits. And the top section is actually paid. So I went back to last year's and I saw what everybody was actually paid, wages and benefits. And so if they were coming in the middle of the year, it's just that. They didn't have a full, it's not a full contract sometimes if they only worked from January through June. So they're not going to be apples to apples on comparison of an online teacher, you know, so forth. I wanted to make sure that down the list, we have quite a few positions that as of now are not going to be replaced according to recommendation. And then just some reclassifications, but the one is speech pathologist. I was wanting to make sure that 111 is offset by what we paid the ESD last year for contract, minus a little bit of cost savings on the presence learning. First, bringing somebody in-house that's supposed to help out with lowering that presence learning contract by doing some more of those speech pathologist items. And then we have the K-12 vice principal is offsetting your elementary's principal, as you can see there. And then if you had questions on that, I can answer them.
So Loretta spent a lot of time analyzing this because it's basically the track record since I came in March. What we've cut back on, a lot of these cutbacks were generated from the board's decision to prioritize brick and mortar and learn at home. And so that started this process. But as you can see, we've been cutting positions district-wide as natural attrition has been going on, but also taking a look at what we're needing, like for instance, a halftime guidance counselor, positions like that, nursing contract, communication specialist, that's our PIO, things of that nature. So it kind of gives us just a snapshot in time. This will change tomorrow, you know, it'll be different next week. This is just kind of a running tally of where we're at right now in terms of what we have cut out of the district budget.
So when you look at this, all these learn at home positions, are those all working at the learn at home, or are those brick and mortars that we shifted over to cover them?
We did not shift. Wait, maybe was it?
I'm just asking because there's quite a few on here.
What do you? Which one are you talking about?
I'm not talking about any one in general. So when you look at all the learn at homes,
Yeah, those are teachers that resigned that we have not replaced. So you're asking?
so this whole top list is people that are gone.
Yes.
So this is all gone. This is potential savings, right?
Not
Yeah.
potential, this is savings.
This is
So-
savings.
Well, I
This is
just,
savings.
it says potential.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
it's
That's all. I'm
Oh.
just reading it.
yeah.
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 that's-
at the bottom. Oh,
Yeah, and the reason the word potential is there, like I said, is changes.
Mhm.
You know, like for instance, let
It's like
me.
special education, you thought you could absorb. it
Right.
With the amount of kids.
Right.
Well, you gotta have another.
Right,
Gotcha.
absolutely. Yes.
And with this, I've also matched up the FTE and positions for brick and mortar, learn at home, transportation and athletics. And so I evaluated that. We have a whole long list of exactly who we have in our positions now. And it's, we might share it as soon as Sean gives the go ahead with that, but that's what we have created. And it was in comparison with this to make sure this was accurate.
It's just what I'm thinking is if our learn at home doesn't grow, we're in trouble already.
It's very normal if,
I know it's very normal, but I'm saying if it doesn't grow, we're in trouble.
no. What I'm trying to say, Mr. Webb, is that if it's very normal in a school district when you don't receive the enrollment you were expecting to cut. This happens all over the state.
Sure.
And so if we're not gonna get the enrollment that we were expecting of 500 and learn at home this year, we're gonna have to cut positions.
Yes. But I'm not even, the brick and mortar positions are down to pretty much a bare minimum from what I remember from our discussions. Where if we only get 150, say we get 250.
Okay.
We're still gonna cut probably 2 or 3 more people out of that.
Couldn't learn at home, yeah.
But it's going to affect us in this building. Not right now. It's gonna kick our butts next year.
Not if we balance the budget, and that's what I was talking about earlier. If you cut down to what your budget is, you know, where you're not overspending,
Right.
you know, that's the way you do that. It ebbs and flows.
Because if I'm not mistaken, if we can get things in order, we should cash carry over quite a chunk of change this year that we're not gonna have next year.
If the numbers don't, grow,
Yes,
if the learn at home doesn't grow.
because we're still, this year, we're on a 900 or 1100. Next year, we'll be on a 700 or,
And I was
Whatever.
actually going to, but I was actually going to see when October enrollment kind of comes in
Yeah.
and make sure we go to the state school fund and reevaluate. So we're not going to come over with a bunch of cash to roll over. That is really not reality, so that it won't affect us so much the next
well,
year.
if we didn't haven't cut the online course, we wouldn't have that cash carryover this year.
Wait, say that again.
If we wouldn't have cut the high school courses last year, which put us in the 900 kid range, we wouldn't have that extra 200 kids this year on our thing. Because we
Right.
we
Just
get to
roll-
use
roll
that
over.
this next year. That's what I'm concerned with.
That we got rid of the high school side of
Well,
things.
that
So we're living
gonna-
off of that
We're
still.
going to have those
Yes.
dollars for this year.
But I believe Ms. Sullivan is taking that into account to make sure that our budget and how we're spending money, make sure that we're
Yes.
taking that loss into account already. So we're not banking on, we're
So-
not spending
yes.
based on those
Right,
historical
right,
figures.
right.
Yeah, last month they gave
Right.
financials that actually lowered the beginning fund
Right.
balance to more reality. And then also lowered our state school fund about 900,000
Right.
for reality. And then so you have numbers that are more more in line. And then a potential, we need to save a little bit on our expenses to be able to afford even a
Yes,
ending fund balance.
yes.
And then we can float.
Yes.
Yeah.
That just. Okay, say the perfect world happens, we keep our 500 kids online.
Okay.
If we don't make this building run itself, we can't do the things that we're going to need to do.
Sounds like a board goal. to me.
So I think,
believe so.
Budgeting.
which I think also, and I know I am not adding anything to anybody's plate,
Right.
but I do think that's part of where the ask was after we get some of this HR reset conversations going, we get ourselves to a staffing level that's much more appropriate to our student population level.
Yes.
Then we also start looking at, I think you and Deb brought this up, was looking at that 5-year goal, like that
Yes.
distance, that we're not looking a
Yes.
year ahead. We're not banking
Right.
on the past student enrollment
I'm
for it
just-
to keep us alive, but
Yeah.
how do we plan 5 years in
Yes.
advance, right? Is that
Yes.
true?
Absolutely.
It
Okay.
really is.
Yes.
I mean, even 2 years or 3 years. If we
Yes.
can make it 5 years, I'm just scared we're gonna get in trouble and we're gonna start a backwards trend. And I would like to see my grandkids finish school.
I think your fear is warranted because of how this, from what I understand, this district was on the verge of possibly closing its doors. at one
Sure.
point. You know, and that's why we're trying to focus just on brick and mortar, learn at home, keep the charter going. You know, if We can get this vocational center built. I know that's gonna bring in more kids. And I have to look at student enrollment, those sorts of things. But those are the viability things. And yes, that would roll into a 1 year, 2 year, 5 year plan. So we want to make sure that we're healthy budget wise.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, I think we're all on the same page. We're with you.
So can you keep that 5-year plan like in the back of your head as the next thing you're gonna work on?
You rub my crystal ball
Well,
here.
but I just mean, I don't want to lose sight that the board really does have a desire to see what long-term,
Budget goals. Yeah.
looks like.
Yeah, no, I think that's
But
very
that's not
valid.
today. We have short-term goals today.
Very valid. And we're glad that Lorraine's here. 'Cause she did a lot of heavy lifting for us.
And so I guess Lori, from with your opinion, with these potential cost savings as of today, I think I'm asking for a feeling. What does that look like with our balances? I know you'll give more complete financials next board meeting at our regular board meeting, but does this give us more of a positive outlook or how does that?
It really actually depends on if it was originally budgeted for in the new budget for the 22-23 year. I need to go
Okay.
back and look. If it was budgeted with these people in mind, then it really will help us. But if
Okay.
it wasn't, then this is cost savings that we're not going to incur, but I need to go and look at the budget to see if they were actually there.
Outstanding.
So,
It's a work in progress.
yes.
still.
No,
But we've got a great start here. and We're gonna keep this going. So we can always say, here's where we're at. Yeah. Then we have to look at student enrollment. We need to look at short-term, long-term, absolutely. Because I think Mr. Webb's concerned about budget viability is well warranted.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lorraine.
All right, we're moving on to our consent agenda. We have approval of minutes. I'd actually like to pull out the approval of minutes for August 1st, if possible. There's some modification that needs to be made there for the board minutes.
The work session or the
The
regular
board
session?
minutes, the regular session.
Okay, the regular session. Got it.
Well, it was a special session, but.
Right.
Okay. That's the one that I have, and Shirley, are you still working on the July 14th minutes to come to our normal board meeting? Those ones, we didn't, our normal board session for July 14th. I think we might have missed that in our conversation. I apologize for that. Yeah, perfect. So our consent agenda would be approving our work session meeting of August 1st, our Alsea School District regular board meeting, our board minutes from August 11th, and our board minutes from August 19th. Is there a motion to approve? A verbal motion to
I
approve?
make a motion to approve all those dates of minutes.
All right, so there is a motion to
I'll
approve.
second it.
There's a second. Is there any discussion? Linda? Brian? Robert?
No.
All right. Roll call vote. Linda?
Yes.
I am a yes. Robert?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Favor, motion passes unanimously. Patron comments. Do you have something that's been yeah, is Jessica Green online this evening to talk through her patron comments? Shirley, did she just want me to read this? Yeah. Like, and I think we did want them present.
Mhm.
We wanted them present to
Mhm.
speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't look like the president.
Okay. Are there any in-person patron comments? All right. Do we have any board comments this evening? Hearing no board comments, we'll move into action items. Our first action item is the approval of our district goals. I believe we should move that to next session so we can get
Mhm.
some strategy conversations and be able to
Yep.
send to Deb. She can be included in that. Thank you.
Can we agree to those 3 or 4 points though? That we,
I think we should put them in front of Deb to make sure she has,
oh,
but Sean is going to take those to start working on the strategies. side of things.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So next, our action item B is the approval of 6th to 12th grade math curriculum. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion for 6th, 12th grade.
Second.
Linda seconds. Any discussion, Robert,
I think we're okay.
Linda? Brian? None for myself. So roll call vote. Brian?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes,
Christine is a yes.
Yes.
Robert? Yes. So motion passes unanimously. Next is our HR reset, HRA, and Mr. Gallagher, can you go through the intended proposal that you have?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Like I said earlier, I haven't had a chance to speak with all the employee groups, and that's why you're only seeing a very small portion, but this is a timely portion. I'm recommending that the Board of Directors approves the option for employees to opt out of their monthly $12.50 insurance stipend and allow those that opt out to participate in the health reimbursement account. So we know that we have a number of employees that they're already covered through a spouse, or it could be that some of them are so young that it's the parents, and they really don't want to be taking the health insurance. But if they decided to opt out, then the district would contribute half of that $12.50 stipend into a health reimbursement account. And that would stay with the employee no matter whether they're employed here or they just move on in life. It is quite a popular option. I've talked to a number of superintendents who said that because of this, it's really a win-win because the district is saving half the $12.50 and the employee benefits from half the $12.50. And I've talked to some superintendents and said their insurance costs went down by 30% because it's so popular. So we don't know exactly how many people would participate in this. It's just a common option that you see in a lot of districts now. And it's a real positive win-win for the district and the employee groups. So that's what I have in front of you. And this is timely because the window for applying for OEBB, which is our health insurance provider, is closing really, really fast. So people need to know if they can actually choose to opt out, or they just need to sign up for the health insurance for this year. So that's why I'm bringing this to you tonight.
Is there a motion? I will make the motion to approve an HR reset HRA item for the HRA contribution by the Alsea School District to the employees who opt out.
could you repeat that?
I would make the motion to approve the HRA account for the employees that opt out of selecting our insurance.
I second.
I'm gonna go, I'm not gonna lead on discussion just because it's kind of not correct for the chair to do that, but is there any discussion or questions on that?
Really wanted you to discuss it first.
Okay, I can. So the cost savings that I see in this long term is that if everybody opts in, well, not everybody, if an employee opts into this option, we'll save half of those dollars. That goes back into what account? Sean, what account would that go into?
Well, we have an insurance account that we pay the $12.50 out. It would probably go right back into that insurance account. But
Okay.
Bottom line, it would save the district dollars.
But it reduces the benefit cost for the insured with us. So if my husband has insurance through his employer and I don't have to take it, not only does it reduce that $12.50 and any other district funds that go into that, and
Yeah.
it just costs the amount of money that goes into the HRA. The other benefit I really see is the, keeping personnel. If we're offering something like this, it's pre-tax, it's available to them, they have to turn in their receipts and they're able to be reimbursed that, so it's not out of their pocket. So if they're already struggling to make ends meet and they have this contribution by their employer, it continues to offset that. It's popular in a lot of companies that employees can contribute. I think it's a benefit when the employer does it, but it's only if you are not opting in for that.
And they're not pocketing this. It goes into
It's not-
an account.
It's not a payroll tax. It's
No.
not an income to them. It goes into an account that they actually would, correct me if I'm wrong, please, but it's usually a vendor ran program that they would submit
Yes.
to a third
Yeah.
party for reimbursement. So it wouldn't be
That's-
something the district was paying them back for. We wouldn't be
No.
holding on to those funds.
No.
So is this a yearly voted on thing, or is this gonna be in? Or how does this work?
This would,
This
if you
policy,
approved it tonight, my intent is that, once you approved it, it's just part of the district package.
But to
it's-
increase it or decrease it would come back to the
Oh,
board.
absolutely, any changes to it.
and it doesn't vary with the teachers and their negotiations on what
Mm-mm.
they do?
No, I've already talked to the union about it. They think it's a great thing.
And they can opt in 1 year and opt out the next year,
Yeah,
correct?
absolutely.
Sure.
So, but it's a yearly as they opt into their insurance.
Yeah,
Option, yeah.
yeah, for the
Okay.
employee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pardon me?
The question was whether they lose it. That's based off of the vendor usually, but
So some lose them after a year. There's some rated.
oh, I was just gonna say that's kind of the operational.
I checked them out. And from what I understand is like most of them now, they will go.
Your life, yes.
And that's what she said.
Yes.
Yes.
it is. And
It'll follow the
because of
employee.
that,
Yeah.
But they can't use it except for health expenses. You know, and I'm not sure whether or not they can use it as premium. This is an HRA, which is a health reimbursement.
No, it's an HRA. It's an HRA.
HRA.
So they could use it. It kind of follows the same rules, but they're paying premiums that are on there. I was gonna ask, I'm not sure if they can use it for the premium, but
So-
I do looked into it about people that are Medicare people. Because let's say you have somebody at age 65 that works here as a teacher or an employee, whatever. They can use that savings account, correct me if I'm wrong, to pay their Medicare. Unfortunate thing about an HRA, it has to follow, and it will not give who's opt out to a Medicare. Oh, on a Medicare. If you happen to be a teacher and go into, then finally getting into Medicare, you have to, there's rules when you get to that age. But if you're already there and you're just starting to not use it, that's your opt-out.
Okay.
So for those that are online and can't hear everybody in the back, so gonna paraphrase, but the HRA is a reimbursement account that can pay for premiums and health expenses as long as you're turning in those reimbursement receipts to that company, not to the Alsea School District.
So you can do the card.
Okay, or they can give you a debit card. Okay. That was my discussion was to just talk through, like, that's what I thought the benefit of that for the employees was.
Right.
Financially for the school district, but then a benefit to employees, where I was at with my discussion.
And that's fine. I'm just looking at it thinking a lot of places you can opt out of it but you don't get anything.
We currently have that situation. And so we only have 5 employees that are opting out, but they are also employees that are turning to the Oregon Health Plan for insurance because they're so rotating. So this, I think, would help benefit a lot of people.
All right.
No, I think it's a good savings. I like it.
So,
Are you gonna start with your motion again?
well,
Well,
so,
sure, motion.
so the motion was to approve the HRA to contribute half of the 1250 to the, from the Alsea School District to the employee. I did my discussion, but just formally, Ryan, do you have any further discussion or questions? Linda? Okay. Roll call vote. Ryan,
Yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Christine is yes.
Yes.
Robert? Yes. Motion passes unanimously. All right, next up is our technology surplus for non-working items from Mr. Roberts. We have a memo here that is asking us to approve to surplus 10 computer monitors that are at the end of serviceable life. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right, so Robert makes the motion to approve the surplus. Any discussion? Robert? Ryan? No. All right, roll call vote. Linda?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
Christine is a yes. Motion passes unanimously. Next up is our board retreat day, which I apologize, we do not have a memo. That's on me. So we discussed this evening district goals, but what we have not had time and what I don't think we can accomplish within a 1 hour marker is really our board operating agreement and board goals, how we operate together. I'd like to, the reason I put this here was if this is approved, then we can set a date to have a session where we actually work together and get all those operating agreements in place, and then we can approve them at a regular session. But we need to approve a date if we're going to do that. So that's the background on that, and that's why that's there. There has to be a motion. So is there a motion?
I make a motion to set a date for the board retreat.
Motion.
What's that?
Have a conversation.
Okay, we can have conversation if there's a second.
Yeah.
Is there a second? I'll make a second. Discussion. Ryan, do you have any discussion? Linda.
Of a retreat is this going to be?
That I think is the discussion. Is there a time limit that you think is appropriate?
Well, I'm just having a hard time making all these meetings, and right now, without adding a day or something into it, and right now, coming in here at 6 o'clock is really screwing up my life, so I'm sucking it up, and I just don't want to make it turn into 4 or 5 meetings every week and constantly having more meetings out of, please.
Okay. I agree. Robert, do you have any discussion on that?
I'm pretty easy.
I think we should set a date for after October. Honestly, we have a lot to get through as a board right now before we start setting more goals for us as a board. I'm thinking like looking at November of setting a date. And I would actually vote for doing it on Saturday. Honestly, I know that's not the prime time. I know we all have lives, but it gives us time to build in and not have a work night that we're trying to get to work the next day, or kids and dinners and things like that. My opinion.
But this isn't for our board goals.
That would be for our board goals, not district goals. So it would be like our board operating agreement,
But our board goals, so we're putting them off
unless
another couple months. Just throwing it out.
I'm open to doing it earlier. I think
I was gonna say, if we put it off till November, we're probably looking somewhere around the 20th or the 27th.
That's Thanksgiving.
Yes, but before that's elk season. Just gotta put your
We
priorities
gotta
in
face the
there.
realities.
Yes,
Okay,
I don't want you to have to find a babysitter, so.
what do you mean? He probably has an opinion. He'd be at the table. It's open to the public. Can we look at a day in September then, a Saturday in September? Or is,
Yeah. In September. This month,
that's, September's next month.
okay.
You know, weekend.
Yeah. Or do we want to table that to talk about it in a work session that we can approve in a work session? Can we approve it in our work session for our next meeting?
That sounds like a good idea.
That way everybody can go home and look at their calendars and figure out exactly when we're hunting.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is to approve a board retreat date to decide upon at our work session.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because then you can send that to Deb and
Yeah.
everything. in bulk.
Roll call vote. Linda,
I'm confused.
we don't need to set a date tonight. We're approving that we will have a board retreat. And then when we have a full board with Deb here, we can decide together. It gives us some time. So in our next work session, which will be before our next board meeting.
Okay,
So in like 2 weeks, we'd be able to decide on a date.
yes.
Ryan,
Yes,
Robert,
Yes.
Christine is yes.
so September 8th.
Yeah, that's our next work session. All right. Next agenda item or action item, sorry, is calendar update.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm trying to find the calendar online here, not finding it. We found a error in the calendar. It's not in the board books either. And I'm trying to remember what date it was.
It is the first of January, it's the second of January. Holiday mark on that, so. That's a holiday.
January.
School day.
Oh, it's a Monday, because you have to have the next day off.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
the first is on a Saturday or Sunday,
that was-
so then
Yeah.
Monday have to be off.
Yep.
So the kids will come back on the 3rd.
yeah. So all we need is a motion and we can make that change.
So the motion would be to modify the calendar to include January 2nd as a holiday.
A holiday.
I make a motion that we change the calendar to make January 2nd a holiday.
Second,
I will.
all right. Any discussion, Linda? No. Ryan,
Nope.
Robert? None. Okay, so roll call vote.
No.
Sorry. Ryan,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
Christina's a yes, Linda.
Yes.
Okay. And our final action item is an overnight stay athletics trip to Dufer. Our memo is here by Mr. Rothenberger. And I'm not sure if he's still online and planned to speak to it, or did you plan to?
Is he still on? Okay. So, yeah, Madam Chair, we were sending our football and volleyball teams to Dufer. It's a Dufer Classic. And there'll be overnight stays. The football team will be staying in a hotel because they had actually fundraised for this. And the volleyball team, from what I understand, wants to stay in the classroom. So I want to make sure that we're not saying one gets one, one gets the other. It's just, this is what they're wanting to do. So that is the proposal.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the overnight stay athletic trip to Duford.
When is that?
September 1st and 2nd
Next weekend.
and 3rd.
Mhm.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Linda? Ryan? Okay. Roll call vote. Linda?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
I am yes also. All right, that concludes our action items. I'm happy to announce we have no resignations, but we also have no hires this meeting, so move through that. We will adjourn into executive session at 8:47 p.m. We will return into open session after we complete both executive sessions for deliberation with persons designated by the governing body to carry on labor negotiations, ORS 192.660(2), as well as consulting with counsel concerning legal rights and duties of public body with regard to current litigation or litigations likely to be filed, which is an ORS of 192.660(2)H. Do we want to take a 5-minute recess before we go into executive? Right, so we are back in session at 9:21 with open session, and we have an agenda item to discuss, to vote on if we want to open negotiations with our Alfie Education Association. So is there a motion?
I make the motion to open negotiations with the union.
I second.
Any discussion?
Madam Chair, you probably want to specify which articles.
Okay, so.
So it's not just a blanket.
Oh, yeah,
open
that's true. Sorry. I shut my
Would
thing.
you like me to state those?
State them, please. I've shut everything
So the
down.
motion is to open negotiations. Specified for the union are Appendix 1, Appendix 2, Article 12, and Appendix 3. Modify the motion to read with those.
Yes, I make the motion to modify with those.
Second.
No discussion, we'll roll call vote. Robert?
Yes.
Stevens, yes. Linda?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
All in favor? Key dates are next. Fall volleyball jamborees are August 27th. The superintendent will be holding a fireside chat in the high school gym on August 30th at 6 p.m. Please enjoy Labor Day weekend. We are not in session, we're not in school on September 5th. And our next regular board meeting is September 8th at 7 p.m. We are adjourned at 9:23 p.m.
Thanks, everybody.